What if Brian Cashman suddenly pulled off a move that nobody saw coming, completely changing the conversation around the New York Yankees overnight? That is the scenario we're breaking down today, because this kind of unexpected front office decision is exactly what can send an entire fan base into chaos. One minute, Yankees fans think the roster is set, and the next minute, everyone is asking the same question. What is Brian Cashman planning next? The Bronx would be buzzing, baseball fans would be talking, and rival teams would immediately start paying attention. The reason a move like this would create so much excitement is simple. The Yankees don't need to make headlines just for the sake of making headlines. Every major decision has consequences for the roster, the clubhouse, and the team's championship chances. When a front office suddenly changes direction, fans naturally start wondering what happened behind the scenes. Was there a player available that nobody expected? Did another team suddenly become willing to negotiate? Or did Cashman simply recognize an opportunity and decide that waiting was no longer an option? Imagine the news breaking late in the afternoon when nobody is expecting anything major. Social media starts filling with posts. Fans start refreshing their phones. And within minutes, the Yankees are once again the biggest story in baseball. The first reaction isn't even excitement for some fans. It is confusion. People want to know exactly what happened and why the Yankees decided to make such an aggressive move. Then the details begin to emerge, and suddenly the entire situation starts looking much bigger than anyone originally imagined. For Brian Cashman, this would represent another example of why front office decisions are rarely as simple as they appear from the outside. Fans see the final announcement, but they don't see the conversations, evaluations, negotiations, scouting reports, financial discussions, and internal debates that happen before a move becomes official. A decision that looks sudden to the public could have been discussed for weeks behind closed doors. That's what makes unexpected Yankees moves so fascinating. The biggest part of the story may have happened long before anyone heard about it. The biggest question now becomes what this move actually changes for the Yankees. Adding another important piece doesn't automatically guarantee a championship, but it can completely change the team's ceiling. Suddenly, the lineup has another option. The coaching staff has more flexibility. Opposing managers have another problem to solve. And perhaps most importantly, the players inside the clubhouse receive another reminder that the organization is serious about competing at the highest level. Think about the pressure this puts on opposing pitchers. When a lineup already contains dangerous hitters, adding another legitimate threat can make every at-bat more complicated. Pitchers can't simply focus on one superstar because the next hitter can punish a mistake just as quickly. One bad pitch can change the entire game. That's how a seemingly single roster move can have an impact that reaches far beyond one player. It also creates a completely different atmosphere inside the clubhouse. Players know when the organization believes it has a championship caliber roster. They understand that every position suddenly carries more importance because competition becomes stronger. Younger players have to continue developing, veterans have to maintain their standards, and everyone knows that the margin for error is becoming smaller. That's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, strong internal competition can push an entire team forward. And then there is the pressure of playing in New York. Anybody joining the Yankees immediately enters one of the biggest sports markets in the world. Every at-bat gets analyzed. Every mistake gets discussed. Every successful game creates another wave of excitement. For some players, that pressure can be overwhelming, but for others, it becomes motivation. If this fictional front office move brought another star-level player to the Bronx, fans would immediately want to know whether that player could handle the intensity that comes with wearing the Yankees uniform. That's where leadership becomes incredibly important. The Yankees have veteran voices who understand what it means to play under enormous expectations. They know that a season is a marathon, not a sprint. A new player can have an incredible debut and still struggle later. A team can lose several games in a row and still recover. The strongest organizations don't panic after every setback. They stay focused on the larger goal, and that is exactly the mentality the Yankees would need after making a dramatic move like this. The reaction from rival teams would be another fascinating part of the story. Imagine other American League contenders watching the Yankees suddenly strengthen their roster while they are trying to build championship teams of their own. front offices would immediately begin evaluating their own weaknesses. Could they respond with a trade? Could they improve their pitching? Could they find another impact bat? One move by New York could create pressure throughout the entire league because nobody wants to enter October knowing the Yankees have become even more difficult to beat. Yankees fans, meanwhile, would immediately start creating their dream lineup combinations. Who hits first? Who protects the biggest stars? Where does the new addition play defensively? Which players become part-time options? Those questions might sound simple, but they can become extremely important over a 162-game season. The best roster isn't always the one with the most recognizable names. It's the roster where the pieces fit together and everyone understands their role. That's why the front office would have to think beyond the excitement of the announcement. The real test wouldn't be the press conference or the social media reaction. The real test would begin when the game started. Can the new player stay healthy? Can he adjust to the Yankees' environment? Can he perform against elite pitching? Can the team maintain chemistry? Those questions would determine whether this move becomes remembered as a brilliant decision or simply another fascinating chapter in Yankees history. But there is something powerful about the timing of a move like this. Baseball seasons can change incredibly quickly. A team that looks unbeatable one month can suddenly struggle the next. Injuries happen. Players go through slumps. Young players develop faster than expected. Veterans suddenly find another level. That's why front offices are constantly searching for opportunities. If Cashman believes a certain player can make the Yankees better, he has to consider whether the opportunity will still exist later. This is also why fans should never judge a move only by the first few games. A player could go hitless in his first week and still become incredibly important later in the season. On the other hand, a player could start hot and eventually struggle. Baseball has too many variables to make immediate conclusions. The bigger question is whether the player gives the Yankees something they didn't previously have. If the answer is yes, then this fictional move becomes much more interesting. Maybe it's power. Maybe it's defense. Maybe it's versatility. Maybe it's experience in high-pressure situations. Whatever they care about whether this roster can survive the pressure and deliver when the stakes are highest. That is ultimately what Yankees baseball is about. The expectations are enormous because the history is enormous. Fans don't want ordinary. They want meaningful baseball in October. They want stars performing under pressure. They want dramatic moments in the Bronx and unforgettable nights that become part of the franchise's story. So if Brian Cashman really did pull off a stunning front office move like the one imagined in this scenario, the biggest question wouldn't be whether New York was shocked. Of course they would be. The real question would be what comes next. Is this the final move? Or is Cashman setting up something even bigger? Could another piece still be coming? Could the Yankees continue reshaping the roster before the biggest games arrive? Because that's the part Yankees fans know better than anyone. When the front office makes one unexpected move, people immediately start wondering if there is another move hiding behind it. The Bronx never stays quiet for long. And if this fictional blockbuster scenario teaches us anything, it's that one decision can completely change the expectations surrounding an entire season. The Yankees would suddenly have another reason to believe, their rivals would have another reason to worry, and baseball would have another reason to watch every move coming out of New York. So now the question goes to you. If Brian Cashman actually pulled off a shocking move like this, would you consider it the move that changes the Yankees' entire season? Or would you still want the front office to make another major addition? Let me know what you think, because Yankees fans are never short on opinions when it comes to the future of the Bronx Bombers. And if another unexpected twist is coming, you can be sure the baseball world will be watching.